Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I am Joey Francis, your life, love, and relationship coach. Thank you so much for joining me. As you see in the title, this week I want to talk about chasing. See, I understand. There's some guys out there that like to chase. There's some girls out there that like to be chased. There are some girls out there that like to chase. And there are some guys out there that like to be chased. But I have a feeling that a lot of people have this misconception about chasing, first and foremost, and we will address that. And personally, I believe that it's wrong, 100,000%, and nobody should essentially chase. And I do think that chasing wasn't a thing. I think it was a byproduct of a thing. And I think that thing that it was a byproduct of was people not being honest with themselves and who they like and playing hard to get. And I think that's the big one, is playing hard to get. So if you think about it in movies, TV, all that sort of stuff, and going back, it was always don't be too eager, play hard to get. Women or like mothers would teach their daughters, don't give in too quickly. Don't give a guy too much attention. Make him work for it. And funny enough, at the same time, guys would do the same thing. I mean, for the longest time, as far as I know at least, there was the 2-day rule, like way back. This is before the internet and all this other stuff, right? There was the 2-day rule. You meet a girl at a club or a bar or whatever, you wait 2 days prior to calling her. That was just how things were done. And some guys even waited more. Some guys waited less. But essentially there was a 2-day rule. And I guess the whole point of this was, obviously don't seem too eager. And then, like I said, the byproduct, having the other person chase you because you're being so nonchalant, because you're not trying too hard. So the other person has this idea in their head that they need to chase you. Now, like I said, to me, it's complete bonkers that this is even a thing, because let's look at the definition of chase. I got it right here. Now, the Oxford definition is to pursue someone or something in order to catch, attack, or overtake them. I mean, sure, right? But at the same time, the person that you are chasing doesn't want to be caught, definitely doesn't want to be attacked, and doesn't want to be overtaken. I mean, if you're thinking of like racing terms. Now, in romantic context, in romantic or emotional terms, the chase refers to the act of actively pursuing someone's affection, attention, or commitment, especially when they are not clearly reciprocating interest. Chase, to pursue someone who is emotionally unavailable, inconsistent, or distant, often in hopes of gaining their attention, affection, or approval, especially when that effort is not reciprocated. It often involves reaching out more than they do, overanalyzing their behavior or words, trying to prove your worth to get them to choose you, feeling like you've always one step behind emotionally. Emotionally, the chase creates anxiety, uncertainty, and longing, which can be mistaken for excitement or passion, but it's actually a response to lack, not love. Now, granted, just by reading that, who wants to chase and who wants to be chased? After reading that, it doesn't even make sense. And I mean, when you go on social media and you look at what all the other dating gurus and things like that post, it's very much about being emotionally unavailable and, matching energies and things of that nature. So why are people still playing games about the chase? Well, granted, there are those people who are anxious, and they're the ones that generally would chase because they're looking for love. They need that love. They want that love more than anything. So they're going to go to great lengths to get it. And even a few weeks ago, I spoke to spoke to you guys about the topic of rejection and understanding that when someone doesn't want anything to do with you, that it's done. And granted, there are a lot of people even in that sense that think like, oh, they really do like me. They're just playing hard to get. And in reality, that's not the case. So there's so many like different ways to look at this, but in every single way we do look at this, it's wrong. Chasing is wrong. Being chased is wrong. It shows that there is a sign that there is a greater issue at like being present. Now, me even talking with other people and, asking them about the topic of chasing and being chased and things of that nature, one person in particular mentioned to me that, okay, now compare it to like hunting, right? Whereas men, we need to get that out of our system. We need to hunt. We need to kill. And finding a woman and chasing after her and doing all the things is essentially us fulfilling that. And I responded with, you know what? That is a good point. I don't know if it's how accurate it is. But even in that case, hunting as an action is a young man's game, right? And we're not talking about young men anymore. We're talking about us older folk who've been around. By this time, we would be considered elders of the village. We wouldn't necessarily have to chase. That's what the young guys do. They go get the kills, bring it to the village, and the village shares in the spoils. So where does that leave us older guys? Right? Well, funny enough, you see a lot of women online and women that I've even spoken to. They say like, oh, guys are just acting like women. Guys want to be chased. And you know what? I don't think that's the case because again, with the definition of chasing and what it means, essentially whoever is being chased doesn't want to be caught. I don't think that's the issue here. I think it's the issue of like specific women that have an issue with this, that they just don't want to put their share of the effort in, that they're so used to being chased that they get everything done for them. And see, as again, I spoke to this a few weeks ago about, stable, boring people being, or stable people being boring. Stable, boring people being boring. Yeah, exactly. Stable people being boring, right? And and essentially they want someone to match their energies. They want someone to validate them just as much as they validate somebody else. So they just don't want to be the person that's always reaching out, always making dates, always doing this, always doing that. And it's never being reciprocated. And see, that's where women get it wrong. And they think that guys want to be chased because of that reason. Because a guy just wants you to reach out. Maybe he's a little bit of a romantic and he wants to think that you're at work or you're at home thinking about him. And so you reach out and you say like, hey, I was thinking about you and I just thought I'd say hi. Just as much as you would like him to do that for you. And obviously speaking directly to women at this point in time. And I'm sure the guys that are listening to this are like, you know what? Yeah, because it does feel good. Now, granted, I'm a bit of a hopeful romantic. So I would like to think that's the case if I'm talking or dating or with someone, that when I'm not with them, that I might cross their mind from time to time. And if they had a chance that they would reach out to me and say like, hey, I was thinking about you, and I just hope you're having a wonderful day. And that's it. And that's it. Again, hopeful romantic. So that's not what chasing is. That is essentially matching someone's energy, showing them that you care through attention, as opposed to just sitting and waiting and expecting someone to always be the one that reaches out and does things that way. And like, let's be honest, there are even like women out there and guys for that matter. It's not like there's no gender bias here for the most part. But there are so many people that, for instance, see a message, leave someone on read, or, just don't even, like, they just look at their, like, listen, it's 2025. We all know, like, everybody's phone is attached to them for the most part. And if you can't respond right away, fine, but at some point throughout the day, at some point throughout every hour of the day, like the majority of us are looking at our phone for one reason or another. So don't tell me that you didn't see the message or you're too busy to respond, because essentially the majority of us have a phone addiction to some degree, one way or another. So you can't use that excuse. And essentially that's trying to initiate a chase. That's trying to get someone to chase after you and want you and long you. But this is the thing. I'm speaking to people, and I mean, I guess this goes for any age, because none of us should ever have to be in that position, but especially people that are a little bit on the older side. Guess what? We've already played these games. We've already been around so much. So if you try to play these games with someone and then they don't reciprocate, you can't get mad and be like, well, I don't want to chase them, even though you're the one that's trying to get them to chase. So you just have to understand that anybody that wants to be chased or wants to chase might have something else going on. And like I mentioned, we can almost cross chasing with things like emotional unavailability. And for instance, if they're always on your mind to the point that you can't function, you find yourself obsessing over them, unable to get through your day without thinking about them or hoping that they'll reach out. This isn't love, it's breadcrumbing. And as you remember, I did an episode on breadcrumbing. So if you're not sure what breadcrumbing means exactly, you can go back and listen to that. But it's essentially they're not meeting your emotional needs. They're starving. And because you left them in a state of uncertainty, wondering what they're thinking, what's going to happen next, your brain is stuck trying to make sense of it all. You vent to your friends and family, not for insight, but because you're trying to decide or trying to decode someone who isn't being consistent or clear, right? And here's another emotional unavailability, or somebody who chases or wants to be chased. You get butterflies, but not the good kind. Every time they text you, like you think you're catching them, your nervous system lights up. The rush of dopamine isn't connection, it's survival. You're reacting to the unpredictability, the inconsistently. Maybe one of your caregivers was the same way, as in your parents, hot and cold, emotionally unavailable. And so now in adult relationships, you're subconsciously trying to relive that. And granted, you're even seeking out people that will give you that same pattern of attention because it's what you know. It's what feels good for you, even though it isn't healthy. Because you're trying essentially to rewrite that childhood story. You're trying to, make your past better by finding somebody who gives you that same sort of pattern, and then you essentially convincing them to stop, and you win the situation. But instead, it just reinforces the belief that you're not enough because they keep not choosing you. Again, seeking out those people specifically. And then being with them feels like the highest of highs. It feels like everything is absolutely fantastic. It's like that the two of you were meant to be together when they finally make time for you. But like being chosen, but you're not. You're just getting like breadcrumbed again. Their lack of clarity keeps you hooked. That hot and cold coming back. It might be a sign of you not being emotionally available, or they but not being. Where am I? Oh, I messed up. Hold on a second. Their lack of clarity keeps you hooked because if you can just prove yourself this time, maybe they'll pick you for real. I hope that makes sense because I messed up. I'm sorry. But here's the truth. If you keep allowing this, if you don't set boundaries or recognize the patterns, it might be a sign that you are emotionally unavailable. Real connection doesn't leave you anxious, confused, or starving. It feels safe, seen, and steady. And this is like what I'm getting to about not being chased, right? Or not chasing someone. Because if chasing someone, exactly as I mentioned, if it is just, every time that one of these someones gives you that attention and you feel like, hey, you know what, I got to step closer, I'm winning, and you feel so good, but then the next time you message them, they don't respond, or they go missing for a handful of days, or anything of that nature. This is what I mean. This is exactly what I mean. And you too, caring for people who are careless when it comes to you, do yourself a favor and let them go. This will solve most of the problems in your life. And I will keep it short and sweet. Love who loves you. Support who supports you. Respect who respects you. And ignore who ignores you. I should honestly keep this as like the ending of my podcast. Because that's it at the end of the day. I've mentioned many times as like homework for you guys out there. And if you haven't done it yet, maybe you should do it now. Take out a piece of paper and a pen. Open up a Word document on your computer. I don't even care. Open up a notepad on your computer. Write down how you want to be treated. Write down how you want someone to make you feel. Write down how you want to be loved. Essentially, your love language, if you know what it is. And then use that. Use that as your blueprint. Because if you start dating somebody and they're hot and cold with you, or they're breadcrumbing you, or they're trying to get you to chase them, stay away. It's asking for trouble. It is asking for trouble. When you start dating, this is what I want you to do. If you're single and they're going to start dating, this is what I want you to do. Treat every single person that you're dating like a friend. But at the same time, don't hold your interest. Show them your interest. Be completely transparent. Healthy dating means holding two truths at once. You see someone as a great potential as a friend and a potential partner. And I mean, listen, I don't care how cliche it is. Every single person says it at one time or another. I want to date my best friend. I want to be in a relationship with my best friend. But see, when we are dating someone and getting to know them, we're not doing that friend component. We're only trying to do the romantic interest component, right? Well, that doesn't make them our best friend. So if we want to build a stable foundation, how about we start treating people as our best friend, or like as a potential best friend, as well as a love interest at the same time, so that the two things can come together. Because when you're honest about your interest as well as the friendship, you're giving someone the full picture. You're saying, hey, I like you and I think we have something here. And it's perfectly okay to be completely transparent about this. Okay? Because if they don't feel the same, that's perfectly okay. It is up to them to decide, right? This is like, it takes two to dance. We both have to like each other, despite the shit that goes on in our head and us thinking, like, depending on who we are and what our issues are and what our attachment type is. It's not just our decision. I even mentioned before, like when you don't even like yourself, but yet you want to date. And then when somebody likes you, you don't believe it because inside your head, you're like, I'm not worth this. No, you have to give the other person the opportunity to like you for you. But like I said, when they don't feel the same, it's okay. Because when the foundation is mutual respect and friendship, you don't have to force a connection. It's either there or it's not. And if it's not there, then you walk away with clarity. Or you can stay friends without resentment. I mean, that's completely up to you. I have different rules when it comes to being friends with the opposite sex. But the thing is, openness doesn't make things messy. It makes things honest. Okay? Being transparent with someone is saying like, hey, I like you. I want to pursue this, friendship into something more. But at the same time, as a friendship as well. because I want to be with my best friend. I want to date my best friend. I don't want to play stupid games like chasing and being chased and this stupid cat and mouse bullshit. We're too old for that. We don't have time for that. And besides, why would you want to be with someone that wants to do that to you? Now, I can think of reasons why someone would. And generally, it's because they are emotionally unavailable. And chasing after someone that doesn't want them is a viable, course, because I'm not going to catch them. They're not going to like me. And it's just round and round we go, literally wasting time. Because if I actually found someone stable, it would probably freak the shit out of me. And, I'm emotionally unavailable. So, right? That's a reason why someone would want to chase or be chased. It's because they're just not ready. They're not ready for it. And if you find yourself in a situation where someone's doing that to you, you do have options. Obviously, the main option is find someone who appreciates you for you and you walk away from that stupid situation. Another option is that you can just bring it to their attention. You can be like, hey, listen, this is what you're doing. This is what I need you to do. Okay? And if that's not something that you're capable of, then hey, you know what? All the best to you. But at least you're giving someone the option to say like, hey, listen, maybe getting someone to chase you or chasing someone is the way that you think is the best way to get a relationship, to date someone. And granted, that's possible. We are a product of our environment. If someone literally went through life doing these things, then obviously they're just going to continue doing it, thinking it's the right thing to do, even though it might not be. Nobody tried to show them the way. Nobody tried to have a conversation with them and tell them like, hey, I see what you're doing here. Do you actually like me? Because if you do, we don't have to play this game. I like you too. We can just start dating honestly and being open and honest with each other. Like, we don't have to do this. And because nobody took time to tell someone that, maybe that's why they continuously do it. Right? So sometimes you have to give people the benefit of the doubt. Sometimes, I know what I've said about giving people the benefit of the doubt. But we do have to understand that everybody comes from a different place. Everybody lives a different life. Everybody has a different background. So if they've gone through their whole life chasing or being chased, thinking that's the way things are, then that's the way they think things are. And you kind of have to sit them down and say, hey, listen, it doesn't have to be this way. It can be much better. We can skip all this shit and then just go on and date and have a fantastic life. And we don't need to do this anymore. This is why I say that communication and acceptance is so important, because rather than just walking away from a situation, we can always voice our opinion first, voice our views first, see if it's reciprocated. And if it's not, then hey, you know what? At least you tried, and at least you were open, and at least you're not walking away from this thinking what if, right? Because you voiced your side of things. And if it wasn't right for you, then it wasn't right for you, right? So, that's pretty much it, really, on this episode. Is there anything else I want to touch base on? How about we just stop playing stupid games, guys and girls? How about we just stop playing stupid games? If you're interested in someone, just say so. If you're unsure, just say so. If you want to get to know them, just say so. If you're not ready for something serious and just want to get to know someone as a friend, just say so. To me, I don't know, it just seems so simple. And maybe I'm enlightened that way. But it's one thing that humans do very, very well is complicate shit, even though it doesn't need to be complicated. Hey, I find you attractive. I would love to get to know you. And if they don't like the way that I look and I'm not attractive to them, hey, so be it. Okay, well, you know what? Thanks for telling me. See you later. And you move on to the next one. That's it. It doesn't have to be hard, guys. It doesn't have to be hard. Dating doesn't have to be hard. Dating doesn't have to suck. It's an adventure. And it's not a waste of time, because I know a lot of people are like, but dating is such a big waste of time. It's not, because with every person we meet, we should take something from it, learn something new, whether it be about ourselves or about them. And at the very least, with every person we come across and date that isn't right for us, we're one step closer to the one that is. But you're not going to get there unless you go through the motions, unless you put, like I say it all the time, right? Energy in, energy out. You know, if you put zero effort in, guess what you're going to get back? Zero effort. So if you honestly are ready to meet someone, do it with intent. Do it like it's your job. Be open, be honest, and take no bullshit from people. And if people start giving you bullshit, before you call it bullshit, just ask the question, you know, is there a reason why you are treating me this way? Is it because you think this is the way I want to be treated? Is it because this is the way you've treated people in the past and you think that's what people want? Or is it just because you're a dick? And on that note, if you have any questions for me, any episode ideas, or just want to get in contact with me, you can at joeyfrancis.com. That's joeyfrances.com. And there you can send me a message, ask me a question, buy my books, etc., etc., etc. Yeah, listen, since I have this here, love your journey. I love that. Love your journey. And, love who loves you, support who supports you, respect who respects you, and most importantly, ignore who ignores you. Till next time.